Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, the owner of Lincoln Lending Group right here in Tampa Bay for 23 years. Joined by his incredible co-host, Senia Akishina, realtor with Mahara and Associates, Tampa's top real estate company. Together, they have helped finance and close nearly $1 billion of real estate every year. If you're looking for local mortgage or real estate advice, the Business Happy Hour team has been right here on News Radio WFLA for over a decade. Listen right here or find us on the Business Happy Hour YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram at Frank the Bank Cotto. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious mortgage, real estate, and business talk with two of Tampa's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank and Senia.
Good morning. Welcome, Tampa Bay, to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. I am your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, the owner of Lincoln Lending Group and 813mortgage.com. And don't forget, we do reverse mortgages as well. If you guys are over 62 and you have equity in your home, a reverse mortgage could really help you out. And no, you don't lose your home ever. Don't forget that. Go to reverseguru.com. So I'm in studio, as usual, with my amazing co-host, Senia Akishina from Mahara and Associates. How you doing, Sen?
Good morning, Frank. I'm great. Thank you.
Yes, I'm
always
great
good to
too.
be here. I know you're always great.
I am always great. Most of the time, at least. Today I have a really busy day. So we are starting a little late on Instagram. We do apologize for our Instagram followers. But for you guys listening to us on 970, we're right on time on the radio every Sunday morning. Don't forget, you can catch us not just on our normal time on WFLA on 970, but we are also on two other channels now. You can catch us on 1250 WHNZ, another AM channel, and you can also catch us on FM 105.9. That's right, 105.9 FM. You can hear the Business Happy Hour every Saturday morning. So you've got Saturday and Sunday, and if you miss them all, you can find us on iHeartMedia as a podcast. Do you ever... iHeartRadio, I always say media. It's iHeartRadio as a podcast. You just have to Google the Business Happy Hour podcast and we will pop right up. Senia, did you know that we have hundreds of shows on there?
I did.
You see that?
Scroll that and
Keep
keep
scrolling?
scrolling, yes.
It's crazy. You know, I don't know why they're not paying us billions of dollars at this point for all the shows that we put out there. That's right. You hear that money sound over there. So again, Senia Akishina, my wonderful co-host. Senia does real estate. I do the mortgages. So if you're your first time listening, every week in the first segment, we like to talk about real estate statistics because I don't know about you, but a lot of things are happening in the market right now. And there's a lot of talk about stocks, the market, what's happening with our government. I think you guys want to know, how does that affect you? And how is it going to affect the real estate market? So every week, Senia brings statistics. And by the way, Mahara and Associates, amazing company. We have not talked about Mahara's stats in a long time. I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have any?
You are putting me on the spot. You know what? I do have them somewhere. I'd have to start my Remarkable tablet. We have our meetings
free shameless
every month.
plug to the Remarkable tablets, by the way. If you're still using paper, you are so 1992. You got to get with it on the Remarkable tablets. They're basically liquid paper and saves all your meetings. And no, we don't get paid for this, but if you want to pay us Remarkable, we'll gladly take your money. But yeah, so we're going to try to, maybe we can do a little stats. I put her on the spot, but I know Senia always had some great things. And Mahara and Associates been in Tampa, a staple in Tampa for God, how long? Is he over 20 years now?
He has been. So Mahara and Associates officially, I think 2012.
Okay. So what is that? 13 years, right?
Yeah,
there.
but he's been an agent for a while.
For a long time. And you guys have over 100 agents on the team.
We do. We have great agents, yes.
Amazing agents. By the way, Senia, they know how to reach Frank the Bank. Contact frankthebank.com, Reverse Guru. How do they reach you when they have real estate questions?
I'd love it if they would call me at 813-755-REAL, or you can go to TampaRealEstate.pro.
I like it.
Check out the website and search for properties.
I was on there the other day.
Were you?
Yes, you actually have. It's pretty neat that you can get on there and search stuff and see the listings and see houses.
Yeah,
I like it. It's Tampa Properties.
TampaRealEstate.pro.
Tampa
pretty
Real
easy.
Estate. That's so easy. TampaRealEstate.pro. By the way, we have a great guest in studio. Would you like to introduce Susan?
We do. Yeah, Susan Jacobs is finally here with us. We've been trying to connect, but she's a very busy lady. She runs a wonderful organization in the Tampa area. You cover Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, she's been doing this for over 20 years, and I'll let her get into, all that nitty gritty, give us a background, because I am curious. I don't even know where you're from.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to finally meet you. I've been hearing about you from our neighbor and good friend, Galen and Courtney. And my husband actually went to one of her events and they donated, and he was like, oh man, you have to meet Susan. And this is something that we're going to, also partner with. And I was thinking, we'll talk to you. I'm going to talk to Ray, because I think it's a truly wonderful program that, I'm sure brings so many benefits to, people that need cars.
Yeah. People who would like to help find success through having wheels.
And I'll let, Susan talk about all the things that they do, because it's more than just, I thought, just donate cars, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I think it's a wonderful organization that you've created.
Yes. I thought Oprah was going to be here when I got here. I walked in and I was thinking, man, Oprah's going to be here. It's going to be a car for everybody. But it's even better than that. It's better than just going to a TV show and getting a car. This is going to be really exciting. It's called Wheels of Success. When we get into the second segment, we're going to, like Cynthia said, we'll interview Susan, find out where she's from and how you got into this amazing thing that you're doing, helping people who have jobs find transportation. So it's an awesome story. So stay tuned, Susan. But by the way, you are a guest host. So anything Cynthia and I are talking about in the show, chime in. And hey, even if you don't agree with us, you can tell us. Okay. Because you've been on radio a lot. It's all about keeping them entertained. It's not always about agreeing with us. And we're pretty agreeable people, though, I think, over here.
Oh, we try to be.
Yes.
But speaking of stats, I guess, do you want me to go through that real quick?
If
we
you
have
could
time?
do that,
okay,
please.
Absolutely. So for our Mahara and Associates numbers, during our last meeting, we were a little over 115 million in closed and pending volume.
Ooh. And this would be like what, the first quarter?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 115 million. There's a lot of real estate companies in the whole year. They don't hit 115 million, probably the majority of them. So we're talking first quarter. How many units? Do you know how many units you guys have done? I'm so putting you on the spot today.
Let's see. Well, you're putting me on the spot. So
okay.
I know that we currently have 116 active listings.
Wow. So would you say that, remember, you guys run a big real estate company. Would you say that there is more inventory now? Would you say that there's more on the market?
Yes, and more coming.
More coming.
More coming.
How do you know that? Is that because people are calling and they're talking about listing?
People are calling. I mean, we've got, listing appointments lined up. So just for April alone, I think, we're going to.
How does that affect, I'm interviewing you now.
Sure.
How does that affect the real estate market? So when we talk inventory, for those who are not in our business, that means what?
I mean,
Just
it's all supply and demand. And, when prices went up so much, it's because the supply was just historic lows.
Right.
So it's great that we are getting the inventory, and it's more options for buyers. For sellers, it's more competition. So, they have to be more flexible on price, be willing to negotiate. But I think it's great for buyers. So I think if you've been sitting on the fence, start looking.
Right.
Let's start buying.
I mean, do you still feel the same way I do, that right now the buyers kind of have this little golden opportunity that the sellers are still wanting to work with them. So it's probably better to get off the fence right now.
Well, that and beat out the competition.
Right.
Things change very quickly.
Yes.
So even now, you felt an uptick in, mortgage applications and beat the competition.
Yes.
You don't want to feel that pressure where you're in a multiple offer situation. And I would say, let's start looking.
Yeah. And the multiple offer situation a lot of times comes from the fact that there's low supply. So you have a bunch of buyers trying to buy the same property.
Sure. But even if you've got this, wonderful listing that's, move-in ready, great location, it's not out of the norm that there's going to be other people that want it.
Yeah, a little competition. So that's our advice for you guys today. Now I'm going to let Cynthia go into the real stats that she saved up for us today, because I totally put her on the spot asking about Mahara and Associates. But I will say that is a huge number, $115 million. So what that tells you is, no, they're not too busy, because there's 100 of them. And Cynthia is actually available for you directly to talk to you about these listings and about being a buyer and whatnot. But we do believe this is the time. So that's why we wanted to talk about a little bit about the real estate market. Now we're going to talk about what's happening with sales year over year, right? And Susan,
we are.
Do you have anything to chime in on this?
Well, how are the interest rates?
That's a Frank question there. He likes to pull out his Google machine and then actually give the Lincoln Lending.
I'll do that.
Right.
I'll do that really quick, because so Susan's like the consumer in the room right now. And so the first thing that comes to her mind is, well, what you're telling us to buy a house, but what does that mean? Like, what are the rates? So here's what I love doing, Susan. So I'm a wholesale broker, right? Which means I get the rates at the same level of Bank of America and Wells Fargo do in corporate, but I choose whether we mark them up or not for the consumer. So in general, we're lower. And I'll illustrate that to you real quick. So we always Google it. We go to the Google machine because that's what all the consumers do, right? That's how they find everything. And I'm going to say, what is the 30-year fixed rate today? And we're going to see what does the Google machine say on this little AI thing. It says, as of April 8th, 2025, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is around 6.69%. So what's interesting about that is the actual wholesale rates right now are more like 5.875. They're almost a point lower.
Okay.
But the consumers don't know it because this is what they live by. They Google what the interest rate is, and if Google says it, it's nothing more than a retail rate. So I encourage all the consumers, whether you work with my company, Lincoln Lending, or not, a wholesale broker is always going to give you more options than a bank or a retail operation. So that they are still offering rates at the banks clearly around 6.6, 6.7%. You should be in the low sixes or high fives on a conventional mortgage right now. VA, we just locked a VA yesterday, 5.5%. 5.5% with very little cost to the veteran. So the best advice is do your homework and shop right now. Just like you're going to talk to Senia and you're going to shop for the home, you should shop for the mortgage rate. Don't, this is something we can talk about in the next segment, but, Susan, would you agree banks are not the way they used to be, right?
No, absolutely not. And part of it also is there's so many other options.
Right.
It used to be that was your pretty much only option.
That's right. You just walk into the bank and you knew Jim the banker and you shook his hand and Jim gave you a mortgage or a car loan and then you moved on. On that note, we're going to move on and take a break here in the Business Happy Hour. We're going to be right back with Susan Jacobs and Wheels of Success. But first, the real estate stats. Stay tuned. Got it, buddy. 15-second break.
All the best mortgage or real estate advice from Tampa Bay's top experts. It's the Business Happy Hour with Frank the Bank Cotto and Senia Kishina.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all business and entrepreneurial. Well, we were just talking off air with Susan Jacobs here, the founder of Wheels of Success, and we were talking, interest rates used to be a lot higher, didn't they, Susan?
Yes. I mean, back when I bought one of my homes, the interest rate was at 16%.
16?
Can you imagine?
No.
Now, people like, and when it went down to 10, I thought I was in heaven.
Right.
Okay.
So would you say that people are a little bit spoiled these days?
I think so because they don't know the historical
right
of where the rates were. And so for me, like I have a rate now of 3%.
Oh my gosh.
That's like, why would I move?
Now, let me tell you, in your whole life, have you ever seen interest rates that low?
No.
Right.
No.
Right. So people are spoiled. And the sad thing is a lot of people are looking at that like that's the norm. And
yes,
that's not.
That's what happened. Everybody thought that was the norm.
Yeah.
And so when it went up, I mean, this is still relatively low compared to.
And I bought my first house. I had 6%. I thought it was great.
Yeah, that's actually about what I had on my first house. I think I was like 6.25. So I got in the industry in 2000. And when I got in 2000, it was kind of the first refi boom because you're talking
When
about.
I bought my place was in 2000.
Was in 2000.
I'm in now.
Okay, so and you probably got a rate in the sixes, is what I'm going to guess, something like that back in 2000.
Yeah.
The time that they were in the teens was what, in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe?
Yes.
Something like that?
Late 80s.
Yep.
Mid 80s to late 80s.
Okay, so to late 80s, and obviously they came down. That refi boom was around late 90s to early 2000s when they dropped from, 9, 8 down into the sixes. And that made people go crazy. But I love what you said because, you bought houses in the 80s. There's not a lot of people who can say that right now. And you understand the difference, but you still bought a house. That's what's, don't you find that so interesting? You still bought a house.
Right, because that was your option. You
Right.
didn't have options. So people are sitting on the fence. then your money is less. Well, maybe the rate's going to change, but now your money has less value. So you have to start
So
thinking
true.
about that, what's going to happen with your money itself. And what about all the costs if it's a house that needs work?
Right.
All of those costs are going to go up now, especially with all the tariffs.
Exactly.
Okay, so you might be looking at a house at this rate, but you have to do a bunch of repair, and it's going to cost you 25 to 50% more to do that repair.
Right. Right. That's
Well,
100%.
my thing is everybody needs a roof over their heads. So
Right.
it's either you're paying, somebody else for it, or you're paying your own mortgage.
Right. Let's hold on. Let's be a little more blunt with what Cynthia just said. She was being too nice. Everybody is paying a mortgage. The question is, are you paying your mortgage or their mortgage?
I like that. Yes.
Right? You were being very nice when you said, you're like, well, everybody has a house payment. No, guys, you're paying someone else's mortgage. All right. So why are you doing that? If you're renting an apartment, you're paying some big company who built that apartment, is making millions of dollars. What are you doing? Get out. If Susan bought a house and found it economically viable to pay 15, 16%, I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to afford 6%, right? And here's Susan. What do you think about this? One of my favorite sayings: marry the house, date the rate. That's what we tell people. It's like
that.
right?
Okay.
Get in. It means get in now because prices aren't exactly going down. We're not going to have a foreclosure crisis. You can always refinance. You're just dating that rate. When a prettier rate comes along, well, you just divorce that other one and you find that pretty one and run off. No, I'm not talking about actual life, but that's what you can do, guys. You can always refinance. So our advice, Cindy and I, is get in now. Speaking of Cindy.
Get in now and start building equity. Like even if the appreciation isn't, crazy high,
Right.
my advice would be this is not a flipper's market right now.
No.
Don't anticipate, hey, you're going to buy a house, fix it up, make a bunch of money.
Yep.
Buy a home that you love,
Right.
marry that house, and plan to live there for a little while. And you're going to gain equity, and it's a safe investment,
Yeah.
unlike the stock market right now, which I
Well,
don't.
We can, okay, so we'll talk about stocks just for a minute, but then we're going into real estate stats.
I'm not much
right?
of a stock talker. I just, I'm a real estate girl. So.
I'll just give this advice. I've been investing in stocks since I was 18 years old. I've been a little busy in the last couple of days, so I didn't do what I should have done and got in and buy a bunch of things. But I will tell you what the rich will tell you is the rich get richer when prices go down. Right? So Susan?
Absolutely.
Down economies make more millionaires than up economies because what do? They invest when things are low. You buy low and you sell high. So don't be scared of the market right now. It is time to buy, right? And if you have stocks, you don't need to sell them.
As long as you're not ready for retirement.
Right.
Okay. That's
is-
where the scary piece is.
That is scary.
Okay.
So there is definitely a segment of our population right now that could be on the fence of retiring. And yeah, it's scary because the things go down. But listen, I promise you they're coming back. The entire market is cyclical. It is going to affect you. I heard somebody this morning on the radio, actually on this channel, saying, oh, you could sell while things are low and they'll come back. But it's like, why would you do that? Just hold it. You don't need to take the loss and rebuy. So anyway, my advice, what are some of the bigger stocks? Here's your advice. Look for the bigger names that are not going out of business. Look for the ones who have declined the most over the last week. Buy those. And when things turn around, whether it's a month or a year or whatever, you're going to have some profit. My advice, buy some Tesla right now. Tesla's not a cheap stock, but everybody's hating on Tesla. No matter what you believe politically, they're hating on Tesla, and it went down with all the other stuff. I don't think Tesla's going away. I think it's going to be the GM of our time. I think that it's going to be there. And they're also coming out with these robots. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Might be a little scary, but they're going to be branded under Tesla. So that it's going to be the first humanoid robot that people can purchase for their home use to do chores around their home.
Wow.
Yeah, like laying tile, folding laundry. Who knows if they're going to like cook for my kids. I don't know.
All those futuristic movies are like coming to reality
And by
here.
the way, they look just like the ones from iRobot. The ones with Will Smith. Have y'all seen that movie? Good movie, scary as hell, right? So hopefully, Elon, you're not trying to take over the world over here, but I will say I would recommend that. And there's another stock you could look into if you want to be real safe. It's QQQ, right? It follows the NASDAQ. Top companies, 7 to 10 top companies, I believe, in the NASDAQ. It follows it 100%. So it's kind of a way to spread your risk. If you don't understand stocks that much, you can buy these funds that follow groups of stocks.
That sounds like something maybe I could
It's
get
safe.
into. Okay.
It's safe. Even when you look at the chart from when the financial crash of 2008 to 2010 was, look at the chart. The chart goes like this. Yeah, it takes a dip, but guess what it does? It keeps going up, right? So historically, you have all these crazy things that happen. It's going to continue to go up, especially if you're on younger side. I'll take Susan's advice. Be careful if you're retiring, okay? Talk to your financial planner. But if you're, young little bucks over here, put your money in the market. Cynthia, go invest stocks.
Okay.
Buy stocks
All right.
later today. All right.
Sounds good. So stats.
Yeah, actually, we got to take
And
a
you
break.
know what? Oh, okay.
We just blew
I
right through
figured,
that short segment. Yep. Soon as we get back, we'll stats, and then we're going into Wheels of Success with Susan Jacobs. Stay tuned here on the Business Happy Hour, and don't forget, check us out on iHeartRadio as a podcast. We'll see you in just a minute.
Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, the owner of Lincoln Lending Group right here in Tampa Bay for 23 years. Joined by his incredible co-host, Senia Akishina, realtor with Mahara and Associates, Tampa's top real estate company. Together, they have helped finance and close nearly $1 billion of real estate every year. If you're looking for local mortgage or real estate advice, the Business Happy Hour team has been right here on News Radio WFLA for over a decade. Listen right here or find us on the Business Happy Hour YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram at Frank the Bank Cotto. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious mortgage, real estate, and business talk with two of Tampa's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank and Senia.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. We are not going to deviate and squirrel like we just did in the first half. I'm glad we did talk about stocks, though, because that is on everybody's mind right now. We are going to move into real estate stats, and then we're going to be talking about Wheels of Success with Susan Jacobs. So first, Senia, what do we got?
Okay. Well, I'm going to stay on topic here, and usually I jump around, but I'm just going to go down the line, and this is for our Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough, Hernando County. We call the MSA. Locally, closed sales year over year for February, we were down 4.9%. Closed sales units, we had 2,877 units sold.
Mm-hmm.
The median sales price down 1.2%, which gets us to just under $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
The average sales price was actually up 2.4%, and the average sales price is $512,783. It's
Wow.
almost $513. And I know I always use the median number because
Right.
it's more, representative of the market.
Right.
With the average sales price being, so much higher, it's because, of the higher priced homes that get averaged in.
Right. So the median shows you kind of year over year actual price compared to.
Right, midline.
Midline.
That's more relative because, those numbers obviously are very different. But still, average sales price for our area is $513,000. Median time to contract is up 10%. Median time to contract in days, we're at about 44 days, which in Hillsborough, it's a little bit less.
Okay.
But you can expect when you list your home, before you get a contract, that's what that number represents. The month supply were up 35.7% year over year.
Ooh.
But the month supply is still 3.8.
Right. We wanted to get closer to 6, right?
I mean, even 5.
Even 5.
Even 5. But I
Right.
mean, the fact that we're still under 4, that still speaks something. That means that we do need that inventory that we're getting.
Right, which is troublesome because if the rates drop and more people come into the market,
Exactly.
supply and demand,
Yep.
and that's where we could see prices go up. But I'm going to tell you what this layman's guy over here heard. I heard 1.2 and 1 point something percent. That means nothing to me. That means we are stable. When you're only moving 1.2% or 1.4%, I mean, most negotiations are more than 1% when you're talking about prices in the home. So
And keep in mind, this is February numbers.
right.
So we are now,
Oh, yeah, that's
in
right.
our hot selling season,
Yes.
January, February, things are just generally, slower
Slow.
after the holidays. So yeah, this is February numbers.
So I tell you what, I can't wait for March.
Yes.
I'm
me
super
too.
excited. So with that said, would you like to introduce Susan officially?
Yes, let me reintroduce Susan. So Susan Jacobs with Wheels of Success. You can tell us the website, but I know it's wheelsofsuccess.org. And I checked it out. There's lots of good info on the company there. But I'm going to go ahead and put my camera on you because this is your half of the show.
Yeah. So Susan Jacobs, welcome to the show. I actually spent a lot of time on your website this morning, and I figured out what you do. Why don't we start by maybe doing a little bit background on you for a couple minutes? Kind of where did you come from? And then what made you start this awesome organization?
So I started this 21 years ago. I'm actually a New Yorker, once a New Yorker, always a New Yorker. So I grew up never owning a car. I had a single mom, handicapped mom. She never drove, we got everywhere we needed to be because we had wonderful mass transit.
Right.
It was phenomenal. So, but I knew what it was like. And that now translates for me when I'm dealing with people who have to carry their groceries walking or on the bus. And I can tell them stories when I did that. So, and I started this basically because I was running a staffing agency, and that was the dilemma. We specialized in hospitality, and they'd say, well, the bus doesn't run then, or how am I going to get there, or my car's not going to make it over the bridge. I can't do that every day. And I thought, oh my God, how we're going to find these people jobs, and we're going to lose this business because they can't get there.
Right.
And I started researching because there was a lot of money out there for job training, but they weren't addressing once you got the job, how were you going to get there?
Right.
And there were no programs in Florida. There were programs up in the Northeast where there's a lot more social entities going on with government funding and whatever, but that wasn't going to happen here.
Right.
And basically, the company I was running went from hospitality to manufacturing. They wanted to switch, which would have been fine, except 9/11 happened.
Ooh.
And so they couldn't hold on long enough because they were hospitality based and there was no hospitality. Nobody was staying at hotels or flying or doing anything. And so the company closed here. And I was like, okay, I find jobs for a living. I can find a job. And I found a job actually with Thompson Cigar Company.
Oh.
Never smoked a day in my life and still haven't. But they were wonderful to work for, a great company. And it allowed me to start Wheels out of my home while I was working the night shift from 2 to 10.
Oh.
So that's how Wheels started, with a car in my garage and a car in a friend's garage that were donated by a tow truck company.
You are kidding me. You started with 2 donated cars.
That's how we started.
And then what did you do? You found a family or an individual who needed it?
Well,
or?
we really, no, we didn't directly. I realized that you'd have so many applicants if you were reaching out to people directly, and how were you going to vet them? So I kind of modeled this after Habitat a little bit. Mm-hmm. The same concept. We wanted you to be invested in the program. The cars are not free. You do pay a minimal amount for them so that you have skin in the game, okay, and you take care of your car. And everything's interest-free that we do. And then also to look at who would be the best referrers. So we started working with all the social service agencies. We reached out, Metropolitan Ministries being one of our first that we've partnered with for years, as well as the Spring of Tampa Bay, because we had a lot of domestic violence. That's what we specialized in initially. Now we've expanded way beyond that. And then also employers, who were employers like the Casper family with McDonald's, and Tampa General Hospital. So people who were using people, especially at night and on weekends when there wasn't any public transportation, and how you could get to work but couldn't get home, or vice versa. Wow. So we were kind of addressing those. We looked at starting to address those needs, and then really our first big, what I call our first big break, was AAA came on board with us. Thanks, and that changed everything because they tow in all our cars for us. We were having to do that, but it also gave us credibility,
right?
Because people were like, "Who are you?" When I'd go out talking to people trying to raise money, they didn't know me.
Yeah, you say I'm endorsed by AAA. I mean, that's like presidential endorsement.
Yeah, so it was awesome. It really changed things dramatically, and they still tow all our cars for us. They're a phenomenal company to be involved with. And then we started, expanding, there were needs other than domestic violence, people would reach out to us. So the first group we started after that was our veterans group, which we started with the help of State Farm. And then the next group was our caregivers program, Cars for Caregivers, which are patient caregivers, not family caregivers.
Yeah.
Helped with Tampa General Hospital, helped to start that with us. And then we started our Wheels to the Future program, which is for kids aging out of foster care and unaccompanied youth, because who buys them their first car? They don't have parents to help them. So, and that was with help of the Eckerd Family Foundation. And then, so we had those programs going, but then we realized, okay, what about all the other people that don't fit in there, but that are applying? So somebody who had a major accident and only had PIP insurance and now can't afford anything. Somebody who had a major illness like cancer, they were doing great. Now their car's been repoed, their credit's ruined. They're back in the workforce doing okay, but nobody will give them credit, so they have to go to buy a car with 20% interest.
So that is what I understand is probably one of the biggest prerequisites, and I love it, is that they have to have a full-time job.
Correct. Yeah, we had to narrow it down somewise,
right?
Because we couldn't help everybody. So what we said was, if we can help people who are helping themselves and have a job full-time, but just need a way to get to work so they don't lose it, then they can help themselves once we do that. They're not going to need a whole lot of other assistance, hopefully, because they're able to get to work. Not only get to work. So what we realized, because we do exit interviews, what we realize is there are the tangibles and the intangibles. So tangibles are getting to work, getting a promotion, getting a raise, which a car allows you to do. But there's also all the intangibles that we all take for granted in terms of making you part of the community, participating in your kids' school activities, your church or religious activities, going back to school,
right?
To increase your potential earnings. So there were all those other things that meant so much to people. And when you ask them, yes, they told you they got a raise or something happened, but those were the things that were most important to them because they didn't feel like they were on the sidelines anymore. We have people tell us, we went to the beach for the first time. We have 4 kids. How are we going to get to the beach from Tampa on the bus?
Right.
We just never went. And so, or the first time they went through a drive-through in their own car and didn't have to ask somebody to take them. Those were the things that the kids remembered and told us about. We had a family that was crossing US 19, taking their laundry to the laundromat, and people making fun of them and pointing at them, and how that changed for them when they didn't have to do that anymore. Those are the things most of us don't even think about.
No, we take
right?
it for granted, and it's. Yeah, I can see how that hurts them internally and their self-esteem and their motivation.
Absolutely.
Everything you described, I was picturing the different types of people, and it's not just one group. You
it's
guys,
not. We so stereotype who needs help. It could be your next door neighbor. They got cancer and now they've lost everything.
Right.
Okay.
Now, on that, we're going to take a quick break and come back to the Business Happy Hour in just a second. But Susan had a great point. Just like inflation affects people retired of all age and all groups, so does loss of transportation. We're going to learn more when we get back on the Business Happy Hour. Stay tuned.
Let's get back to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, owner of Lincoln Lending Group, and his co-host, Senia Akishina, realtor with Mahara & Associates.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. We are having a great time, Cynia, with Susan from Wheels of Success. And by the way, if you were listening to the last segment, Susan is a great talker. I love guests like this because they can just take the show.
I love it especially. I'm the quiet one, so I love it when somebody else can do the talking. But from where we left off in the last segment, I just wanted to say, yes, we do. The majority of us take, car ownership for granted.
Yeah.
But even that, moment when your car does break down and you're without it for even just a day, I mean, it just wreaks havoc on your life.
Yeah.
You know, and Tampa is we're not a pedestrian friendly city. It's really hard to get around if you don't have a car. I mean, it's great to have Ubers and all that, but man, that's
really expensive.
Pricey.
Oh my gosh,
very
an Uber,
expensive.
that's more than drive. You take 3 Ubers, you could make a car payment.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
So it's not really an option for most people.
Yeah.
And on your website, I did see a stat that Tampa and our Tri-County area is like one of the the
top
costliest?
25 metropolitan areas, the cost for transportation, and also one of the only ones that doesn't have mass transit.
Why?
So that makes it even more difficult for people. Now, when I started, we didn't even have Uber, so at least that's an option, even though, like you said, it is so pricey. So, you end up spending all of your money that you might have had towards a down payment to go buy a car somewhere on Uber, and now you don't even have that. Yeah. So it's a kind of catch-22 at that point to do that. Plus the rising cost of insurance rates.
Right.
We're one of the highest areas for insurance rates here as well. So trying to get into a car, especially if you haven't had a car, now you're considered a first-time driver.
Right.
So your rates are really, really high. So, okay, you found a car, but how do you afford? That's why we have so many people driving without insurance.
Yeah.
So it's just a catch-22 all the time.
And then
how
that
do you
doesn't
get
help
out?
the price of insurance.
That's
either.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's just really tough. So our program helps with all of those things, not just with cars.
Yeah.
We do car repairs, both major and minor, and we started doing a lot more car repairs, major, because again, your mechanic might have said the car is not worth fixing because it's $4,000, but you can't buy a car for $4,000 anymore. Right. So if we can fix it and say, okay, that car is going to be great for at least a year, now we've given you another option till maybe you can have the money to buy another car.
Now, there are companies that partner with you to fix the cars?
Absolutely. We have different mechanics that partner with us and give us discounted rates.
Great.
We have, whether it be even for windshields, batteries, all the kind of things. But you can help as well. You can what we call build a car. Okay. So people say, well, on average, it's about $3,000 to $3,500 for us to get a car back on the road that's donated. But people say, well, I don't have that. I can't donate it. You can help build it. Donate $100. Okay. That'll help us buy a battery. Join our Nuts and Bolts Club, where you can donate as little as $5 a month and know that over the course of a year, you're going to buy a part for someone's car to get it done. So we've tried to come up with creative ways to make it worthwhile for you to donate. And the good thing about our charity is you can actually see where the donation went. It doesn't just go into a big pot. You can see the car. We invite you to the car presentations. So you can see if you're a sponsor of a car, if you want to sponsor the whole thing, you can come see it given out. Wow. You can remain anonymous if you want, but still be there. But you can really see the impact. We don't have a charity where you can walk through a hospital or you can do whatever. So the only way you can really get what we do is seeing a car being donated, whether it be on the media, okay, or in person. You can really see the true impact that's going to have on someone's life. And then we follow that person for a year. So we also let you know at the end of a year where that person is and how your donation has helped, whether it be the car donation or the funding to help repair that car.
God, I love it. I actually have someone I need to connect you with who runs a car junkyard. And I think that could be a great connection for somebody.
Yes.
By the way, guys, I know you're listening to this story, and it's a great story, but we need your help, and so does Susan. And how can you help is you can go to wheelsofsuccess.org, and that's where you can sign up. I've already looked at it this morning, so I saw the build a car. I didn't see the nuts and bolts thing, so because I probably didn't read far enough, but that's a great way. Even if you have $5 a month, go to wheelsofsuccess.org. You can see some of the stories. You guys have some video links. You can see some things. I know Cynia and I would love to come to one of these one day and maybe
we'd love to have you.
Yeah, maybe see this happen and do a little social media out there.
Yeah, our goal is a car a week.
Oh, wow.
That's what we try to do, is a car every week.
How close are you to that?
And we're moving up to a car and a half every week. So we're there every other Saturday. So we do one usually on every Friday and every other Saturday.
Now, where is this held?
So, well, it can be held two places, either at our location, which is on Florida Avenue, or at the funders location.
Okay.
If they want it there, it's a great morale boost to have all your employees come out and see what you as a company help do in the community, that you're not just about making money, you're also about helping. So GT Financial is one of our partners, and we do presentations at their headquarters as example. That's like a great opportunity to do that as a business.
Yes.
We have friends that have gotten together, which is how I met Cynthia, and sponsored a car. 6 friends got together, put in $500 each, and sponsored a car.
So that's essentially what it takes. $3,000.
That's on average.
On average,
now
we
with
can do it.
Tariffs and everything happening, we don't know where that's going to go, because not only will the price of cars go up, but the price of parts are going to go up. So we're crossing our fingers that it's not going to kill us.
Yeah.
In terms of our budget set a year in advance, so we're going to have to come up with that additional funds. But on average, that's what it is, because some of them are smaller, some of the repairs. And again, we don't only do repairs in cars. We help with insurance. We help with tagging. We help with impounds. Anything that's car related that's keeping you from getting to work.
Yes.
That's what we focus on.
So I'm going to commit Mahar and Associates and Lincoln Lending Group right now. We're going to figure that out. I think what we could do is we could advertise this, and we could do a little bit out of every closing for like the next quarter or something like that.
Oh, that's cool,
and
Frank.
I can talk. You talk to all the agents. I'll talk to all the brokers, and I guarantee we could do it. We would love to help you.
That's
Susan.
a fantastic idea, and I love
phenomenal.
this organization. Like, what a great thing, Susan.
Yeah, this is really neat. This is very unique. I've never heard of such a thing. I know a lot of people have trouble with transportation, and like you said, it can lead to so many wonderful things.
It can.
And I love the prerequisite. You're not just giving things away. They've got to have skin in the game, one of my favorite sayings, and they got to have a job. And listen, if you're doing that, you deserve a car, right? Let's help them out. So we only have about 30 seconds left. Anything you want to leave the listeners with, Susan?
Just that we need your car donations now more than ever. And, wheelsofsuccess.org, donate your car, and we'll let you know what happened to it.
And don't forget, it is a tax write-off,
That's right.
guys.
That was my last statement I was going to say. Absolutely.
I stole it from her. It's a tax write-off. I want you to go to wheelsofsuccess.org. If you're on Instagram and Facebook, like and share this. Get it out to everybody. I put it in the description, wheelsofsuccess.org. Susan, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
me. What a great opportunity for us.
Yes.
So.
Awesome. Well, we'll support you, and we'll see everybody next week on the Business Happy Hour. Cynthia, have a great week.
You too, Frank.
Bye.